Jack Rooke. Hello, Jack Rooke.
Hello, Graham. How are you?
I'm very well. Now, I knew you first as a stand-up. I went to see you in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
You know, was it a Spiegel tent?
It was like a mini Spiegel tent. It was a sort of Spiegel tent for those who can't sell out the big Spiegel tents.
Yeah.
Which is a lovely Spiegel tent to be in.
Yeah. And it was very, very funny and good. And we just thought, oh, he's going to go on and be a stand-up. But then you turned into this extraordinary writer. You've written this beautiful, beautiful show, Big Boys, 2 seasons of it. The final season airs. Is it tomorrow? It airs.
Yeah, the final episode's tomorrow.
If people will watch it in the old-fashioned way.
If people are watching it the old-fashioned way, which a lot of people do, but not particularly our viewers. I sort of get the ratings through the next day and I'm like, oh God, Sunday night, well, what, you've got the news, or I think we've been up against Schindler's List on BBC Two. And I was like, okay, well, what are you going to watch, Big Boys or Schindler's List? I might go for Schindler's List, just as a reminder.
Yeah, on a Sunday night. Yeah. Make work not so depressing tomorrow.
Yeah. But yeah.
But people, that is the thing about Big Boys, and because talking about it with people here is people, they start and then they can't stop. They just binge the whole thing. Yeah,
it's nice. I sort of really like it. I think to me it's like a film chopped up in 6 parts, and I'd rather people binged it. That's sort of what the director of the show, Jim Archer, is more of a film director, and I feel like we make it to sort of run one into the other. So. Yeah, I'm so chuffed at the amount of people who are just like, I've lost 6 hours of my life to this show. I'm like, thank you.
Well, and also it must be lovely to write something and make something that people don't just tolerate.
Yeah,
they actively love it.
Yeah.
If people have not, there must be people listening who have not come across Big Boys. They don't watch Channel 4 comedy. They think it's not for them.
Yeah.
Tell us about this show.
Big Boys I suppose it's a sort of story about a kind of bunch of misfits who go to university, and not a good one, I will say. Like, we're talking your kind of polytechnic on the side of an A road. And they kind of just all kind of meet and choose each other. And at the centre of the story, it's kind of about a character called Jack, slightly based on me, but a much more sort of shy, demure, dweeby version of me, who's he's just come out of the closet, his dad's just died, he's kind of like he's like the sort of spin on a typical gay protagonist. He's sort of shy and nervous and terrified of everything. And he becomes best friends with a more sort of traditional lad's lad in a character called Danny, who are played by Dylan Llewellyn and John Pointing. And Danny is a sort of, on the surface, you kind of think, oh yeah, I know this character. And then there's some sort of hidden depths to him, which, and he's kind of, that character's based on about 4 or 5 of my friends who are sort of straight lads, but actually, sometimes I think there's this thing nowadays where a lot of queer people or gay people, they watch something gay on TV and they're like, oh, I feel very seen by that. Actually, I felt most seen by hanging out with some of my straight laddie mates that were like, hey, do you want to come and watch The Royal Family in bed with me? And I'll be like, yeah, I do want to come and watch The Royal Family. Or Gavin and Stacey, or like, some of my straight friends took me to my first gay pride and stuff like that. And so it's sort of celebration of like those differences don't need to necessarily separate us as much as we kind of think they have, or as much as television perhaps is depicted.
Yeah, and I can imagine straight lads watching this thinking, I feel seen.
Yeah.
I feel seen because I don't meet those expectations, and I don't, live up to all those pressures and things.
Yeah, it's my favourite reaction is when somebody's like, my husband's a builder on a building site in Bracknell and he loves Danny. And I'm like, thank you. Like that to me is just as nice as, a nice sort of Guardian review being lovely. Like
it's so funny listening to you talking because, of course, you do the voiceover.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's
I feel like we're in the show now.
You're in the show. Graham is in a grey hoodie. Yeah, no, it's a weird one. My Edinburgh shows, my second Edinburgh show, the one before the one you saw, was I sort of did this address to the audience as you. And that sort of narrative device of sort of talking to my friend but talking to the audience as if they were that. It's just, I was like, how do I translate that to TV? And I also thought, how do I make a bit of extra money? If I narrate the thing, I might be able to get a bit more cash.
Very smart move.
Thank you.
But the joy of not having to be in it.
Oh, it's so good. And not having to go to not having to wake up that early. I get to rock up. It is really nice. And Dylan Llewellyn, who's from Derry Girls, I think you've had him on.
Yeah, he was on here,
He's just the sweetest, kindest boy in the world. And me and him, we share some experiences and we've sort of talked a lot, and he just sort of perfectly, to me, encapsulates a sort of nervous, anxious me that did kind of exist when I was 18, 19, but really got knocked out of me as soon as I started doing stand-up. So it's sort of nice to go down that memory lane.
Yes, because I've been watching it, and the timeline. So it started in first season was 2013.
Yeah.
Now we're kind of 14 into 15.
Yeah.
And so I was watching it with my husband. We were going, well, hang on. We saw Jack do stand-up in, I think, 2017.
Yeah.
So we're thinking, like, a lot happened to you in between the time of your life in that and doing stand-up.
Yeah, I think my final year of uni was really crucial for me. I think I got that thing where I was like, right, it's nearly the end. People are deciding what they're going to be and what they're going to do. And I was the first one in my family to go to uni, and I thought, well, I can't be a black cab driver because I've got no coordination skills. So I've got to actually start taking this seriously. And I just started doing gigs above pubs, the sort of standard way, but like I was doing really bad, like funny poems. It was sort of bordered on performance art, bordered on comedy. It was sort of quite odd. I sort of, no genre wanted to own me. Like the theatre people were like, he's comedy. Comedy would be like, he's performance art. And performance art were like, who is he? So it was...
Step forward at the Edinburgh Festival.
Thank you.
I know, it's great, the Edinburgh Festival.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Yeah,
I saw you had Ambika on the TV show last night, and her talking about it and walking up Arthur's Seat. Like, I was explaining to my flatmates, I'm like, that is your mental health, like, encapsulated. You walk up a hill and you hope for the best.
That is it. Big Boys, it's all available to watch on, what is it called now? All 4? What are they called?
It's actually, well, this is it. They've changed, it was 4OD. My mum tells people to watch Bad Boys on 4OD. It's now just called Channel 4.
Oh.
I think they should call it... Oh, no, it's a bit of a rude joke. Can I make a rude
joke?
No.
No.
Okay, I won't make a rude joke.
No, I'm not.
No. It's not a swear word, don't worry.
No. Anyway.
I'll tell you after.
You can tell me during the song.
Yeah.
And we'll talk to Jack Rooke some more after Andreas Johnson and Glorious. Now, you were saying there, it's hard to describe the show because it is gay, it is a comedy, but it's also a family thing. And the other thing is everyone says, oh, I cried. It is heartbreaking. Did you go into it knowing you wanted to tick all of those boxes?
I think so. I mean, I tried to make it sort of as inclusive as possible, and I mean, by saying that, I mean like for there to be like white straight men to feel seen by it too. And I think it's a sort of difficult show because on the surface of it, you could be like it's a gay comedy or it's a uni comedy, and I'm like, no, it's so much more. It explores so much more territory, and especially series 2, I think it becomes a bit more ensemble. We have more of the other cast members in, and
because your mom and your gran, all these other characters.
Yeah, so it sort of feels like it becomes a bit more expansive. But I'm a big believer in writing comedies that are funny. So when people say to me, oh, I cried, I'm like, that's very sweet. I obviously know I've put a bit of an emotionally manipulative ending in there. But I do want to make sure there's a big gag waiting like 20, 30 seconds away from a sad moment. I feel like it has to kind of still have that gag rate.
And I'm sort of amazed, like, because... Are these your first scripts?
Yeah.
Because they seem so assured. The fact that you do that, the fact that you can go from laugh, laugh, laugh to now I'm crying, that seems like a very sophisticated skill set.
Well,
did you go into it confident? Did you go into it, I can do this?
I think it was doing Edinburgh for 5 years. I think it teaches you about of how to kind of get an audience, laugh an audience into bed with you. And then once you've got their trust, you can hit them with slightly more difficult or emotional subjects. And I'm really I feel very proud to kind of come from a live comedy or a live theatre background, because I think it just makes you know what a viewer wants.
Yeah. Victoria's just messaged in.
Oh, has she?
She's listening in East London. I don't think you know her. I just stumbled across Big Boys. I mean, that's not great marketing, Channel 4. I stumbled upon it. Yeah. What we'll do is we'll just leave it here and see if people find it.
See if anyone watches it.
Yeah. Job done. I just stumbled across Big Boys and binge watched the first series last weekend. I cannot wait to watch the second series. It's absolutely fantastic. So beautiful and funny. Please pass this message on. Thank you.
And that was from Victoria Beckham in East London.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. David doesn't like it.
David doesn't feel seen.
You know,
by it.
yeah, no, he feels too seen. Too seen by it. But actually, we should talk about your famous fans, because you have, like,
Yeah.
a lot of people have seen this and got to go, oh, that guy's really good. So, name drop, go
Well,
on.
do you know what? I've always
do
feel
it.
okay, I'll do it. Well, look, I had lunch with Kathy Burke on Tuesday, which was honestly one of the happiest
Isn't she
afternoons of my
lovely?
life.
Yeah.
She is incredible,
Yeah.
and a long-time hero of mine. Russell T Davies immediately got in touch as soon as the first Series 1, Episode 1 had aired. Within 2 seconds, I had a message from him, being nothing but sort of lovely and supportive. We've had, who else? Do you know what? Lisa McGee, who writes Dairy Girls, has been incredible at just sort of... It's so weird that writers are... I was always very intimidated by them, but actually, because they know how difficult it is to be a writer and get your ideas onto the screen, they're just much more supportive. Or I've certainly felt really supported by a lot of writers. I think I infamously did a Guardian article the other day, and the journalist asked me what other writers have liked Big Boys, and I said, oh, well, Phoebe Waller-Bridge just asked me to write a play, and that became the headline of my Guardian profile, and I had to be like, Phoebe, I'm very sorry. I promise that wasn't as clangy as a name drop, but at the same time, she does love the show, and that's amazing, because I think Fleabag is, you know, it was such a...
Yeah. Also, you do think, write your own play, you lazy... I believe you've got a laptop.
I actually did have to buy her a laptop, which was
That's embarrassing. Yeah, and a bit, also, I think Richard Curtis was a big fan. He's reached out to you.
Which is mad.
Yeah.
Because I loved The Vicar of Dibley growing up. I think Alice Tinker as a sitcom character is in my sort of top 5 of all time. So yeah, it's been such a nice... It's been so nice to sort of get that response.
Yeah, and also I suppose it is that thing that I think writers probably do respond, because writing a thing is one thing, but then for it to make it onto the screen and for it to still be the thing you wanted it to be is so rare.
Yeah, and I feel very sort of lucky that I've been able to do that, especially with the show. I mean, if I'm really honest, it was difficult to get commissioned. We got cancelled twice. And I heard all the old things of, oh, it's too niche, it's too British, it's too... To be honest, I heard it's a bit too gay. Like, I heard all of those things.
Yeah.
This was only 6 or 7 years ago, and now you think of the landscape of TV, stuff like Big Boys or RuPaul's Drag Race, like, it wouldn't have been made back then in this country.
My husband and I binge-watched Big Boys after you mentioned it on your show last week. Oh, hello. We absolutely loved it. It was so funny, but also really moving. Loved it. That's from Sharon and Paul in Redditch. And Sarah says, please tell lovely Jack the Big Boys help me and my son, my own Danny, talk about mental health in, quite frankly, a life-saving way. We love him and his wonderful show.
Oh, that's very kind.
Do you get a lot of that response? You must.
I do, and you know what? Like, I try not to sort of reply to everyone, but I do kind of read a lot of it and sort of like feedback to the director and the cast of like the amount of people that have come out because of sort of the coming out scene, and the amount of people that have gone, I'm on antidepressants and it's meant that I've dealt with erectile dysfunction. Like, it's so, that is, I think, a new, that's something that yes, I want to make a comedy, but I can't, I'm not going to sort of stab in the back that there are issues in there that people resonate with. I love that. I find it a real kind of beautiful perk of the job.
It's just gorgeous. Big Boys, both series are now available on Channel 4. You can watch it all, or if you're oldie-fashioned, you could catch the last episode and kind of go, what, that's a pity I didn't watch the rest of that. But I would urge you to watch all of it on Channel 4. Thank you so much for coming in to see us, Jack.
Thank you, Graham.
Lovely to see you.
Virgin Radio.